pee at the end of the day, so I wouldn't have to shower. I'd just leave. Because I was fat, and you know, I didn't want to get naked in front of people. Making the transition here into high school years now. I've been racking my brain and forgetting the damn stories, so maybe things will pop back up. But I'm going to start with high school, and you know, I'm almost positive that when I was between junior high and high school, I wasn't allowed to work for the restaurant, so I wasn't able to get any new school clothes, so I went to high school. But this might have been between freshman and sophomore year as well, but I don't think so, because I have this recollection of like showing up to high school and feeling like I was set up for failure right from the start, because I didn't have any nice clothes, so I was just going to be one of the have-nots. And you know, you had the kids that were popular in school that had nice clothes, and they had stuff like they could talk about what happened on some cable TV or whatever. None of that was my reality. So I was kind of a have-not. Then you add into that the fact that I didn't even live in the school district to where I was going to high school. So it just kind of set me up to be kind of like a loner almost. I spent a lot of time alone commuting between high school, which was even further away than junior high school was from the houseboat. So there was even more commuting time, and it was all mostly on public transit, except I think I got dropped off in the mornings. So I remember, like, I think it was literally like the first day of school, and there was this couple, and they were probably seniors at the time, and dude had a shaved head, and I mean, they looked like Sid and Nancy, and she was just stunning, but just punk rock, and my jaw dropped. I mean, I had some like one of those like pullover sweaters that said like Cambridge, like a fucking Ivy League university, like I was ever gonna see an Ivy League university. That was my mom, completely. Yeah, oh, I want a doctor, I want a lawyer, I want this. Yeah, I didn't do absolutely nothing required to have a doctor or a lawyer, you know. Like, I don't ever remember once my mother helping me with homework. Not once. And I literally only remember my dad helping me with homework for a period of time when he first got a hold of me. I remember being dropped off and seeing this couple. And my mom was just looking at him, and I was looking at him, and they were literally the only two people that dressed like that in the entire high school. And it probably was one of those situations where they had money to be able to dress like that. Because that, I mean, I don't even know where you get clothes like that. So that was literally like the first day of high school, and I remember that just so vividly. And I was just basically, at that point, when I moved in with my mom and stepdad, I was skinny. I was in decent shape. There was a lot of activities my dad had going on, I think, or the diet probably was a big part of it. My mom's diet, which was based on, I'm not sure, she read some books and thought she had it figured out on like a vegetarian type thing, but it wasn't really a good idea. So I was kind of a chubby kid by that point. I was like a little fat, like not little, but I was like a fat, wasn't super fat, but I was definitely out of shape. And then, you know, wearing some year-old clothes that I, you know, didn't have a whole lot of clothes. Basically, you know, I never had a ton of clothes. I mean, I got like clothes, a little bit of clothes on the, like the clothes I would get on the holidays, and your underwear and your socks and stuff like that. But like pants and stuff like that. And I think a lot of it was because I was growing all the time. Like I grew like crazy forever. And like my shoe size would go up like a half a shoe size in 2 weeks, and I'd have to get a new pair of shoes, and I'd wear a pair of shoes out. So I did end up making some friends there in high school, like a little group of guys that all kind of hung out together, and then I just kind of hooked up with them. So these guys I ended up hooking up with in high school, one of them was in karate, and then so the other ones were like his buddies, and then I just kind of hooked up with them. And this one guy he was like half Vietnamese, half white. So his mom, his dad was in Vietnam and got his mom out of there, and that was, and his dad was super old at the time, and like he hooked up with some young Vietnamese chick, right? And had a couple kids, and then the other dude was not quite sure what he was. He wasn't all the way white, but he was like, I don't know, maybe he was like Hispanic or something like that. Yeah, so I most definitely wasn't racist as a freshman in high school, junior, sophomore. I would say I wasn't really a racist until I started dropping out. Like that ignorance thing started taking over when I dropped out of high school. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how I went from spraying swastikas all over the place one night to having my best friends, neither one of them being, or I wouldn't, yeah, best friends, yeah, they were my best friends for a time, neither one of them being all white, and then to being a racist. And you know, I think I figured it out when I was talking about it yesterday, about how it was probably this guy that I was hanging out with that became my best friend for years. So his mom came over to my house at one point and told, so he got his mom to bring him over. I'm like, hey, come on over to my house, hang out. And his mom brought him over, and his mom went to talk to my mom, and she said to my mom, don't let your son hang out with my son. My son's bad, 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 right? And so this must have been like later, more towards like 16 years old versus like 14 years old. I think that's when 14's about when I started high school. Anyway, the guy that was like the Hispanic dude, he had this car. It was a Mustang 2 that had like a motor swap and a big V8 put in this little tiny car, and that's what we all rolled around in. And there was like one other dude too, I think, but I don't really remember too well. High school, I just kind of melded into the kind of, I didn't really do any of the activity stuff. The one activity I did do was like building a float that went around the track. The only recollection I have of what the float was that we had squirt guns and we pissed people off with them. And we really fucked up because we ran out of water on our own side. Then we got over to the other team where we should have been squirting. That might have caused a lot of problems though, because high school kids and squirt guns, man, they can seriously get pissed off. Yeah, I really don't remember what the float, but it was like the only kind of thing I ever ever did. And it was like one of those things, like normal kids could like stay after school and do something and then go home with the later thing and still be home before I would be home if I just left school normally, got on my bus. Because I mean, my ride was like, my life was like, okay, here's the school, and it's offset back in like a neighborhood almost kind of thing. So you have to walk up there, and then it's at the top of this hill on another road. And so I got a skateboard and I started riding down the hill. And I mean, it was a steep hill, so I dragged my toe. So I went through so many pairs of shoes by just shredding the toe off, dragging to just be able to not have to walk down that hill. And then I get down to the bottom of the hill, and that's where the TriMet bus stop was. And this TriMet bus stop, this was the same bus that I was riding when I was in 2nd grade at the Mill Creek Little School. Just a different route. That one bus goes like across town. So I think it was one of those buses that ran once an hour or something like that. And like, so it was like a 45-minute wait. And things I would do, like, if it was karate, I'd just walk to karate class, which was down the street. A decent walk, but a walk, you know, still not worth waiting for the bus to then go. Or I might play video games in the little plaid pantry 7-Eleven type store, little convenience market at the bottom of the hill. And they had like Spy Hunter. That was my favorite, Spy Hunter. But that generation, they, you know, they'd have like 1 or 2 games. And, you know, I'd have like 25 cents or 50 cents extra. Because at that point, I was getting like cash every day because there was lunch costs and bus costs. So it was just like, I think I was giving like $5 a day or something like that. But so it left me a little extra. And I just ate like in high school because they had food there. I mean, they had like pizza and, I mean, just crappy food. You know, they should turn high school or all schools, fields into farms, knock all this sports bullshit out, and teach kids how to where their food comes from and how to grow it and how to harvest it and how to eat it. My friend's little fast hot rod car in high school, and the music that he played was Metallica and Justice for All album, Bon Jovi, whatever his little hot album was at the time. Music was expensive back then, so he might only had 2 tapes or 2 tapes, but who knows. And we get to go out to lunch, so we could. So I guess this would have been more like sophomore year with those guys. So yeah. Now, freshman year in high school, the smoking age was like 16 or something like this. There was a smoking section, and I remember walking through it, and you know, I don't even think they policed it. Like, so kids smoking in high school, you know, I guess if you go back far enough, maybe they were actually smoking in the freaking high schools at some point. I don't know. This was right outside a door. I mean, not even 10 feet away from the exit. It was literally right there. I remember not liking showering. And I always had like, I was lucked out where I'd have like PE at the end of the day, so I wouldn't have to shower. I could just leave. Because I was fat. And, you know, I didn't want to get naked in front of people. I don't know, just seemed weird. You know, that was one thing too I just remembered from really young. My mom used to drop me off at this daycare center that had a swimming lessons. And that was the one thing that always weirded me out too. I don't know why getting naked, being naked and all that was such a weird thing to me. But they were just like, that was such a young place and there were such little kids there. They didn't even separate boys from girls. They just were like, okay, take off your clothes, put on your swimsuit, you know, blah, blah, blah. That was my hard limit when I was in high school. I didn't want to, I didn't like that concept at all of showering in high school. I don't know, I didn't like sports. I messed up my knee doing this weightlifting thing. Pinched like my knee, like this thing where you do calf muscles like this. I put so much weight on it, I literally pinched through the muscle on the top of my knee from the thing being too heavy on it, and messed up my knee. Probably even maybe the same leg that I had hyperextension in grade school basketball class, where I got my leg hyperextended during a game. I think I already told that story, but I might not have. Like somebody came down the side of my leg. I passed out from the shock. And if you read the book Dianetics, when people are unconscious from that kind of unconscious situation, like everything they hear becomes misunderstood. And then that makes these little things in your head that can hang you up on the way you think about stuff, in a super layman's terms explanation. So who knows what I heard, or if that was the case, or if something like that happened way back then when I passed out in the middle of a gymnasium full of kids, right? I was down to playing. I think I asked my mom if I could play football. She said no, and I think I was honestly kind of happy, because I just didn't like that whole mentality that the football represented back then. Kind of a clique of all people that did the same, looked the same, act the same. But I still kind of half-heartedly asked, just so I could put it off on. So, why don't you play football? Oh, my mom wouldn't let me. Yeah, boy, I wanted to too, believe me, yeah.